The most energy efficient car you can buy on the new car market here in 2024 in the United States is this right here, the Ioniq 6 SE rear-wheel drive. So I'm excited to go head out on the highway and see how far you can travel on a full charge in this rear-wheel drive model. Hey everybody, it's Charlie from Daily Motor, and today we've got the real-world highway fuel economy and range test on the 2023 Hyundai Ioniq 6 SE rear-wheel drive. In this test, we're going to head out on the highway and do 50 miles out and 50 miles back, averaging 70 miles per hour to get you a realistic fuel economy and range figure for this very slippery EV sedan. And before we get started, let's hop out and take a look at it. Now, this is actually going to be our first full electric vehicle efficiency and range test here in our new home in Southern California. Our only other EV that we've had so far is the Rolls-Royce Spectre, and I actually set out to do a range test on that car, and I was going to use DC fast chargers that are positioned right near the highway. But contrary to what a lot of people think, yes, there are a lot of EV chargers, publicly available EV chargers here in Southern California, but there's also a much larger demand for those chargers. So those chargers were full even around 9 o'clock at night. There was a line to get charged at most of them. So I realized quickly that that's not going to be a reliable way to test electric vehicles here. So we've got an amended charging setup. I'm going to explain that here in a minute. But this, the first electric vehicle that we'll actually be conducting the test on, because it's a little more relevant than the Rolls-Royce Spectre, the Ioniq 6. This is getting a claimed 361 miles of mixed driving range, but only about 327 miles from the EPA on the highway. But that's still very good out of its 77 kilowatt hour battery pack. This is still a decent size for 4 adults. It's a little tight in the rear seat for headroom, but still a good amount of trunk space, a lot of sidewall on these 18-inch wheels. I'd really like to see one of the all-wheel drive limited models with this wheel set on it to see how efficient it would be, but I like that Hyundai was able to do an efficient wheel design that's still cast and not plastic wheel covers like you get on a Tesla Model 3. But I really like this car. I think it provides a lot. I think it's a really good electric vehicle option for somebody just looking to stack miles. So if you do want to see more on the Ioniq 6, check the link below. We've done a first drive review of the more fancy models and then a bunch of coverage on this one, including a sound system review, infotainment breakdown, full review. All of that will be linked below. So as I was saying, this is going to be the first electric vehicle on this test route, and because we're not going to be starting right by the highway like we do for the gas tests, this test is going to constitute about 3 miles in each direction of kind of mixed city driving, about 50 miles per hour or so, probably about 40 average when you get stoplights in there and domestic and everything. I'm actually going to be leaving from my house later tonight, heading out, and then we're still going to do 50 miles of actual highway driving, and then back to my house. I'm going to charge it all the way up in my level 2 charger. We're going to factor in kind of a charging loss there at level 2, and then get a final result based on the energy put back into the vehicle. So it's going to be a little bit of an experiment here for our first test. I'm not super excited about the fact that we're going to be experimenting a little with such an important car here, but hey, we got to roll with what we can do, and I do think the readout on the car is going to be fairly accurate. I've been getting pretty good numbers so far over, I guess this is going to be the closest, over the last 163 miles, and that includes some hard filming miles. I've still been averaging 4 miles per kilowatt hour. But like I said, the EPA's got some pretty lofty figures for this vehicle, EPA/Hyundai themselves. So I'm really curious what we're going to get out on the highway. Now, a few things to note for today. The outside temperature is probably going to be about high to mid 50s by the time we start later tonight. I'm going to have the tire pressure set to their door placard, 38 PSI cold. And we're going to be running the climate control at 73 degrees auto, no seat heat. So fairly ideal driving situation for an electric vehicle, not running really much heat or air conditioning there at about, like I said, high 50s outside, maybe a little bit of heat. We're going to fast forward from here to the time lapse of me conducting the entire trip, and then tomorrow morning, once this vehicle's all charged back up, and see what sort of range we get out of this electric sedan. Coming into the end of the highway efficiency test here in the Ioniq 6 rear-wheel drive. Coming into a little bit of traffic near the end of the test, but overall, a pretty smooth, clean run. Obviously, our moving average speed is going to be a little bit lower because we had 3 miles before and 3 miles afterward of kind of 50 mile an hour road driving with stoplights. So we had about a 30 mile per hour average by the time we hit there. But I wish I could show you a median average speed over this test, not just a mean. But we are getting below what the EPA predicts for highway efficiency in this car. 3.9 miles per kilowatt hour is what we're coming into, and in order to get that EPA estimated figure, the 327 miles at highway speeds, we'd have to be getting about 4.25, so just almost 4.3 miles per kilowatt hour, and like I said, does not look like we're going to get that. A little disappointing there, but hey, still a pretty good figure here for this car. 3.9. I mean, we'll have to do the math and get this thing charged up and everything, but you should still be able to get about 300 miles, and I think that's a nice ballpark estimate. And remember, we're traveling 70 miles per hour here. We've used about 4 to 5% of our charge in climate, in keeping the heat. It's actually kind of weird. It's been oscillating between heat and air conditioning back and forth. I don't know why it doesn't just pipe in fresh air instead of running the air conditioner, but either way, I do have to say, this is a nice car to be in on the highway. The seat offers a decent amount of adjustability. We've got two-way lumbar support, so I like that. The 18-inch wheels go a long way in supporting the ride and soaking up the little expansion joints and imperfections in the road. Never underestimate what a little bit of extra sidewall can do to improve the ride of a vehicle. So very happy with the 18-inch wheels on here. It's decently quiet too. We're on a very loud concrete section of highway right now, but you do hear some road noise, very little wind noise. We've got double pane glass, really happy with it. And the active lane keeping is just so easy, so confident, and I would rather use this system than something like Tesla's autopilot, because you set it right here and it's just going, and then you don't have to turn it off to change lanes or anything. It just, it's time to get over a lane, and just get over, and then it picks right back up. So very happy with that. What I'm not happy with, sound system, pretty darn awful. We did the members only sound test here, and it's very bad. It's probably one of the top three, I should say bottom three worst cars I've tested, and at $43,000 you really should be getting more, even though it's the base system. But we are going to get this back to the house, charge it all the way up, and I'm going to catch up with you tomorrow. We're going to crunch some numbers and see what our final figure is. We got all charged up last night, and the charger ended up putting in 26.7 kilowatt hours toward the car, but we assume a 90% charging efficiency rate at level 2 charging. I think that's a little bit low, but that's the most reliable number I can find out there from people who have studied the topic to kind of convert how much electricity actually makes it into the vehicle's battery pack. So we're going to take 10% of 26.7 kilowatt hours, and that's given us 24.03 kilowatt hours that we're assuming actually went into the battery pack. We traveled a total of 105.2 miles divided by that 24.03, and that's going to give us 4.38 miles per kilowatt hour. That's a good bit better than the car's figure here. Now, mind you, the car's speedometer reading a little bit less than we actually traveled via GPS. So, realistically, I think obviously this is going to be a little bit of an ideal situation number because the climate was pretty good and we were traveling strictly at 70 miles per hour. But if we do take that 4.38 miles per kilowatt hour times the 77.4 kilowatt hour battery pack, you're getting just a hair under 340 miles. So we're going to say officially that you could make 330 miles cruising at 70 miles per hour here in the Ioniq 6 SE rear-wheel drive. And I am happy to report that that is actually right at what the EPA says you're going to get. EPA was 327, so it does look like that EPA figure is achievable at highway speeds. Now, mind you, the range figure, the 361 that you often read, that's based on mixed driving, but the EPA gives an MPG E figure for highway driving, and if you make that adjustment, that calculation, that gives you 327. So I do think that 327, 330 mile figure there, pretty realistic. Now we can kind of corroborate that by looking at the percent left when we got back home. We were at 68%, and that was after traveling 105.2 miles. So if we take that 105.2, and again, we don't know exactly where in the percentage we were there, but let's just say we traveled 105.2 miles and it took that 32% battery to do that, because we had 68% left, and then multiply that by 100. We're looking at right there that 329 miles of range. So again, pretty decent figure there. Oh, let's also get the MPGE for that. It was 4.38 times 33.7. Gosh, look at that, 148 MPGE. I love how efficient this vehicle is. I really do. It's cool to not only be using less energy than you would in a gasoline sedan, but the fact that this thing is so slippery, they made it so efficient. I am about it. In fact, that would make this not only the EPA's most efficient car, but also our most efficient car that we've ever tested here at Daily Motor. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. So thank you all so much for watching. If you do want to see more on the Ioniq 6, check the link below. I'm going to be shooting the full review here soon, and just about to wrap up the sound system test as well. And we'll see you on the next one. I'm Charlie from Daily Motor, and as always, drive on.